Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Joseph Novichkov, Senior Trading Manager with GDM. Firstly, today's outlook, we start with brief Asian markets. As we've been tracking their movements, they turned slightly higher on Wednesday, shrugging off a global sell-off in equities over the night, as of course the crude prices advanced and activity in Chinese service sector also showed some signs of pickup. Tracking also the Japan's 225 Nikkei index that wavered before trading up about 0.25% on the back of a slightly higher Japanese yen, of course, relative to Tuesday's session. That's while Hong Kong's Hang Seng index was also up about 0.12%. Data that's been released earlier in the Asian session showed the Chinese service sector strengthened slightly in March, and of course, the Services Purchase Managers Index for March rose about 52.2 points, up from February's reading of about 51.2. That's making it about 1 point higher than the previous month. A reading above 50, as we all know, indicates expansion. The dollar hovered near a 17-month low against the yen on Wednesday after, of course, taking a fresh knock over the night on comments by Japan's Prime Minister, which, of course, suggested that authorities were cautious somehow towards arresting the yen's appreciation. As we were tracking the pair, the dollar-yen was trading at 110 yen 0.5 in the morning local time, of course, slightly stronger from Tuesday's settlement, when, of course, the pair fell as low as 109.94. That, of course, compares with the levels that we've seen earlier, above 112. That was last week. European markets, as they've been tracked, also opened slightly higher on Wednesday as data out of China and a tick-up in oil prices boosted sentiment, helping, of course, the investors shrugging off concerns over global economic growth, as investors in Europe and the US will be watching very cautiously on the last set of the FOMC minutes, which are due out later throughout the European close. Of course, the event may be able to provide some insight on how policymakers, in their opinion, diverge on the following reasoned dovish tone from the Fed Chair Janet Yellen. As we've been tracking also the dollar's sharp fall against the yen, that, of course, enabled the euro to turn and stay, however, in the firm territory against the US currency, despite the data that was showing a drop in German factory orders. That was a data that came out yesterday on Tuesday, and of course subdued the start to the Eurozone's business activity in the first quarter. The common currency was nearly flat today at 1.1375 after probing a low of 1.1335 over the night. The euro, of course, managed to touch a 5.5-month high of 1.1438. That was last Friday after the US Central Bank Chair Janet Yellen indicated she was in no hurry to tighten monetary policy last week. Gold in the commodity sector held overnight gains on Wednesday as, of course, disappointing global economic data and a tumble in equities sent investors right towards the safe haven metal. As we were, of course, probing some interesting views from investors, they were waiting cautiously, as we mentioned, the release of the minutes of the Federal Reserve's March policy meeting, which is due later in the session. That, hopefully, for every one of us, to gauge the outlook of the US Central Bank's monetary policy and give us a little bit more insight on how many, if any, of course, interest rate hikes are due to occur this year. Gold was little changed at $1229.60 an ounce in late Asian trade. That was on profit-taking since its high of $1236 yesterday. U.S. crude oil prices closed slightly higher in a choppy trade on Tuesday after a comment from Kuwait that output freeze by major oil producers would proceed even without the intervenence of Iran. The comments, of course, shored up sentiment ahead of weekly data likely to show another record high in U.S. crude inventories, as the futures settled at 35.89 a barrel. That was about up 19 cents, or about 0.5% up. Earlier, they sank to 35.24, its lowest since March 4, on worries that preliminary data from the American Petroleum Institute will show that U.S. crude stockpiles are at 8 straight sessions of record highs. That's all the important news for today. Keep an eye on the later FOMC minutes for more insights on monetary policy. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.